Welcome to the G5 Hive and our next installment of our Worker Bee series, where we deep dive into the G5 college football landscape with the folks who know the teams the best. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review. Today we'll be heading over to the Sun Belt Conference to take a look at the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Southern Miss finished 1-11 in 2024, and they wrapped up their 2025 spring practice with their spring game on April 12th. We have a special guest joining us today. He is the publisher, editor, producer, and blogger for Big Gold Nation, covering Southern Miss athletics on On3 Sports Network. He is a Star Wars fan and is striving to be the first one-legged man to ever win a butt-kicking contest. He is Heath Hinton. Heath can be found on X at Big Gold Nation. Welcome to the show, Heath.
Man, thank you. I feel like I should be walking into a WWE ring right now. I appreciate that intro, man. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Great to be with you guys. Great to be with you guys.
We're glad to have you. And for those who are just tuning into the G5 Hive for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been covering Southern Miss football?
Oh, yeah, man. I grew up Southern Miss fan, went to Southern Miss, and actually started in radio, doing local radio shows on the Fox Sports affiliate. And then when I had the chance to take over for Big Gold Nation, got blessed with that opportunity, and now I've been with them for going on 11 years now, and been a blast and keep going strong. And, we just were bought out. Rivals was bought out by On3, and they decided to keep us because they liked our site. And even after all the losing seasons, they decided to keep us. So, we're just blessed to be where we're at, having a good time, and love the state of Mississippi and love covering Southern Miss in the city of Hattiesburg.
Well, let's move over to some Southern Miss football. Let's start with the man in charge. Southern Miss has hired Charles Huff as their new head coach. Huff comes in from Marshall, where he served as the head coach from 2021 through 2024, and most recently won the Sun Belt Championship with the Herd. What can you tell us about Coach Huff and what he brings to the table for the Golden Eagles?
There was a press conference today. We had our, pre-fall camp press conference with the coach and the coordinators. And my biggest takeaway from Coach Huff is stability. I think the plan is there. He knows where he wants to go. There is no questioning who's in charge. There's no questioning what the direction of the program is. He said it from day one. And I think that's something Southern Miss needed very badly. Not saying that the other coaches didn't have direction, but I think that Southern Miss, in the time of the transfer portal, in the time of players in NIL and being able to make money now, you need a strong guy, but you also need a strong guy that gets along with players, that players tend to like, but can also be disciplined. And I think that's what Huff brings. I think that's what makes him successful as a head coach, especially listening to him today and listening to his plan of attack and what he wants to do and how he went about doing it. Man has a plan. He sticks with it. He believes in it. And I think if you have that as a head coach, I think you're halfway there. And, we'll see what happens. But I like what you see from him as far as an everyday type of head coach and dealing with players.
Well, Heath, as it often happens when you get a new head coach, that means new assistants, new coordinators. Southern Miss is no different in that regard, as Charles Huff brings over OC Blake Anderson. Now, this is Anderson's second stint as an OC there at Southern Miss. He's previously the OC in 2008 through 2011. Anderson was most recently the head coach from 2021 to 2023 at Utah State, and prior to that, he was the head coach at Arkansas State from 2014 to 2020. Can you describe the type of offense that Coach Anderson plans to run there at Southern Miss?
Well, of course, he's a spread. He's a spread guy. He's been at Southern Miss, won a conference championship with Larry Fedora, I don't know if y'all remember this, but beat an undefeated Houston team that probably kept millions and millions of dollars out of Conference USA because it knocked Houston out of a BCS game back then. So, he's been successful. Look, what I think the offense he's going to run is not much different from what they did at Marshall. He's all about getting the ball out quick, and he's all about running backs vertical, hitting the seams. When he was at Southern Miss, he used them. He had a mobile quarterback in Austin Davis. He ran with Austin Davis a lot. I think you're going to see a lot of those same type of situations with Blake Anderson. I think the biggest issue with Blake Anderson is Braylon Braxton and him. Braylon, I think it's when you have a quarterback like a Braxton who is so mobile, so good, but it can also throw the ball. They like to hold on the ball longer sometimes. And I think with Coach Anderson, he doesn't like you to hold on to the ball that long. So I think that's going to be a little bit of, I don't want to say an issue, but I think that's something they're going to have to work through. And I don't see any problem. They're going to be fine with that. But Blake is a guy that likes to get the ball out fast, likes to get vertical, as they like to say, get in the seams and throw the ball down the field, a lot of screens. And just really a typical spread, what you see in the group of five is what he's going to run.
Well, let's get over to that group that leads the Eagles, Golden Eagles offense, and that's the quarterbacks. John White returns as the only quarterback on the roster that took a snap for the Eagles in 2024. However, the staff brings in 3 transfers, 2 in the first portal window and 1 in the second after the spring. But folks probably should make no mistake about it. This team's quarterback 1 is transfer Braylon Braxton, the 2024 Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year, as he follows Coach Huff over from Marshall. What are your expectations for Braylon heading into the season?
Yeah, he's also the 2025 preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year. So it's you expect when you have that title of your name, you expect big things. I think for Braylon, it's coming in. Look, this isn't his first time transferring either. He transferred over from Tulsa to Marshall. So he even said in the Sun Belt Conference Media Day, he said, "Look, this isn't something new for me. I'm used to it." So I think with him, having already experienced this, I don't think it's a big deal for him. I expect him to have a big season. I really do. I expect him to come in and with the weapons that they bought in, with the running backs they have, and if that revamped offensive line can play as a lot of people think they can, I think he's going to have a big year. And there's a reason why they picked him Sun Belt Conference preseason Offensive Player of the Year. He's dynamic. He can run. He can throw. He's a big kid too. Just everything you want in a quarterback, everything you want in a leader. And I expect him to his numbers to be much higher than last year. Is he going to go 19-2, only 2 interceptions? I don't know about that, but I think as far as numbers goes, I think he's going to have a fantastic season as he gets ready to go pro.
Well, earlier I mentioned that they brought in 2 other transfers and the return of John White. Landry Liddy was there for the spring, and he came in from UAB, and then the staff brought in Jacoby Robinson over from Boston College after the spring. Is there anyone you think that kind of has a leg up for the competition for number 2 behind Braylon?
If it were me, I'd probably say Liddy and John White, with Liddy probably having the probably getting the nod for the backup there. A guy that gets the ball out very quickly, like Blake Anderson likes to do. Has a really good arm. Was a little injured in the spring, so we'll get to see more of him this fall and see what it's like. John White is a fantastic player. You're talking about a guy who, in high school in Mississippi, he single-handedly just threw the ball up and down the field on the Oak Grove team. He was at a private school in Jackson. Oak Grove was a bigger 6A, and I watched the game and I was just blown away with watching him throw the football in high school. And he just has that intangibleness to him of his dad's a state senator. He just has a winning attitude to him. He did it in high school. So I don't think we've seen the last of him yet. But I think right now, I think Landry Liddy is the guy that's number 2. And I don't know if that's going to change much. I think Blake Anderson likes having a guy in number 2 that is a quick release guy. So I think that's what you're going to see coming out of fall.
Well, moving over to the running back room, this room will pretty much be unrecognizable to Southern Miss fans here in 2025, as every running back who took a carry in 2024 is now gone. However, that means there's a lot of opportunities in 2025. The staff hit the portal hard as they brought in 4 transfer. Heath, how does Coach Anderson plan to deploy these running backs in 2025?
a lot of these guys, you look at a Matt Jones, Robert Briggs Jr., Moses Gray out of Marshall. Moses Gray, more of a running back, I guess could do everything. But those two guys, as first stated, pass catchers out of the backfield, get out in space, a lot of screens. I think the guy that's going to be personally to me, that's going to stand out, and I think you'll see it in the first game, is Jeffrey Pittman. This is a guy who is from right down the road in Taylorsville. This is a guy who can. I watched him play against Southern Miss in Starkville 2 or 3 years ago, and just he single-handedly beat Southern Miss. This is a guy who can run the football. He's physical, and I would really think Moses. I think Moses Gray and Jeffrey Pittman are the two guys that might shine more than people realize. And looking forward to seeing that offensive backfield, especially because there is so much talent back there. Guys can do different things. I do think all of them can run the football between the tackles somewhat, but I think Pittman is the guy that if you got a 3rd and 1, you're going to hand it off to him and get out of the way. So, and those are the type of running backs I like. Give me 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Bring back the old Big Ten football days. I like that. So Jeffrey Pittman's the guy I'd watch in the backfield.
So you talk about Pittman and Gray kind of being between the tackles, Briggs and Jones being more of that pass catcher. Which running back gets that first carry at home against Mississippi State in week 1?
Ooh. That's tough. I think there's a battle going on right now. If I was to pick, man, I probably would say if you're going to play against your old team and you went through fall camp, I would give it to Pittman and say go eat. Give him the rock and let him go eat. See what you can get out of the first play of the game and make a statement. So I will say Jeffrey Pittman just to get just as a revenge tactic and let him get back there on the field. So Jeffrey Pittman's my pick.
Let's turn over attention to this new look wide receiver room. This room returns 15 receptions, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns from 2024. All of those numbers came from one man, Davis Dalton. The staff brought in 10 transfers, 7 of which were there in the spring. What should we make of this wide receiver room heading into 2025?
A lot of guys who played a lot of football, nobody who's been the big dog. And who's going to step up and take that role. I think you got a lot of guys who have been role players, so to speak, or guys who have had a little bit of success but never really stepped up and been that number one. Who's that guy that's going to be that number one coming out of this group? Is it going to be Charles Chester? Is it going to be Chapman? I think Chuck Montgomery was a guy who, before he got injured last year, showed big things at Marshall. I think he's a guy who could step up and become that number one receiver. And he already has experience with Braylon Braxton. So there's a early season, I want to say, connection there. So maybe those guys hook up early in the season and make some big plays. I just, Davis Dalton is a guy that I would watch out for. This is a guy that the coaches kept. For you don't know, Southern Miss didn't keep many players. They only kept about 10 or 11 off the former team. So if you were kept, that means they saw something in you. And this is a guy who showed flashes last year, good speed, good hands. That's a guy I would circle and watch. Him and Chuck Montgomery are two guys that I would really keep my eye on going into this football season.
As you mentioned earlier, the wide receivers in the Blake Anderson offense can provide a lot of fireworks for fans. Realizing this is like, fall camp is just starting, literally. If you had to guess who they roll out there as starters week 1, who would you give the nod to?
Oh, man. I would probably go with guys that he's played with. So I would probably put Chester, Chapman, Carl Chester, Tychon Chapman. I would probably put Metcalf, Montgomery out there. Man, Trey Horn's another one. I forgot to mention him. They just got him in over the summer. I would probably put some guys early in the season that he's had time with because I think that's such a big difference going into the football season where other schools don't have that. So I would pick some guys that he's played with already from Marshall that would step in.
When I look at this wide receiver room, like one thing I try to look at the slot position, and like to me, the only person that like stands out like a sore thumb is Elijah Metcalf. Like he's clearly a slot receiver. Who else do you think might play in that slot for Southern Miss?
Probably, I would probably say Davis Dalton or Dalton Davis. There's a funny joke with that because he's got two last names, so we always say it backwards just to have a little fun with it. I think he's a guy that could be a slot, that could be a mismatch on some safeties stepping down with his size. So I would look for him. I would also probably say Micah Davis, another guy that could be Micah Davis, that slot guy. So I mean, yeah, I think there's plenty of options there. It's just who's going to come out of fall camp with the best. It's going to be I'm telling you, these battles in the fall that really didn't happen in the spring because spring was all about a tryout for this team. So you're really going to have these battles in early fall that are going to be fascinating to find out who comes out on top.
Yep.
Well, let's move on over to the tight end group. With the coaching changes, what have you been able to learn in terms of how the tight ends are going to be utilized in this offense?
I think personally Blake is going to be able to – I think Blake is going to use these guys in pass catching. I don't think they're going to be – they'll be used somewhat in blocking, but Huff really liked to use his tight end at Marshall, and I think he'll try to get Blake to implement that somewhat, especially when you got a Kyron Heath, Ole Miss transfer who came in last year who, when he wants to, he can dominate, especially in the Sun Belt. He just is a big guy, physical, who made some – go back and look at his highlight reel from last year. Some of the plays he made were just unbelievable. Then sometimes he would have one that would hit him right in the hands, and stone hands would come out. You just never know. It seemed like you were watching I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Unnecessary Roughness, but the guy that would always drop the pass. And then all of a sudden he would catch this fantastic pass. That's Kyron Heath. And I think he's going to be that. He's going to be the guy this year he's got pro talent. If he can put it together, you're going to see him playing on Sundays or playing in a professional league somewhere. So I think they're going to do a lot of I think you're going to see a lot of growth tight end position, but you really Caden Morris, Western Michigan, TJ Johnson, West Virginia, guys they bought in. Those are guys that they can block. So I think the tight end position is going to be well used. Huff used it at Marshall. It worked well. Braylon Braxton, that was his kind of release at Marshall. So I think you're going to see a lot of action from the tight end.
Well, let's move over to this offensive line you were alluding to earlier, and they were hit by graduation and the portal. They returned only one starter from last season, and that's right tackle Greg Nunnery. There are a few guys who saw action in 2024, but Luke Rogers is the only one that had a start under his belt. As you might imagine, the staff brings in 10 transfers, 7 of which were there in the spring. Heath, what have you been able to see, hear, learn about this newly crafted offensive line?
This is going to be the linchpin of the football team, and it has been at Southern Miss for the past 5 years. The offensive line has been a tough position at Southern Miss. What was it, 4 years ago they went through, 13 quarterbacks? I'm not joking when I say that. I'm being dead serious. Go back and look it up. In Hall's first year, they went through 13 quarterbacks. They had to go and get a guy off of the he was doing film study and bring him out to be quarterback. I mean, it was that bad. So the offensive line, this is the group that has to improve the most. And boy, they did. They went in, they moved some pieces around, and they really did a good job of bringing in some pieces. I tell you, you talk about Nunnery. I think that he's going to be moved to guard. I think he's more of a guard. Blake Anderson talked about Alawai Maui today in the press conference. Said he's just a mover of massive men. I mean, he's a mean guy. So I want to see him get some snaps. But other than that, I don't think anybody knows who's going to play on this offensive line. I think it's up for grabs. I think the best guys will play, but they do believe out of this group that they're going to have, 5 to 8, probably 8 guys with another center, another interior lineman, and another edge lineman. I think they feel like they can get 8 guys to have a really good offensive line. Who those 8 guys are going to be, nobody knows yet, but we're going to find out pretty soon. But this is the most important position group on the football team, just because of the issues of the past and everybody that a big old nation, they want to know what's the offensive line going to be like. What's the offensive line going to be like? Because they couldn't run the ball, couldn't pass the ball, couldn't pass protect. It was just not good. So this is the group that's going to have to make the biggest steps this fall. I think they will. And if they can make those steps, who knows where Southern Miss can end up.
Given all these new faces, has anyone, stepped up to kind of quote unquote become the leader of the offensive line, or is that still to be determined?
I think that's still to be determined because, Coach Huff had talked about putting the team together and making a team. I guess a good term would be to bringing it together to become one, and they haven't done that. It was all about tryouts in the spring, and right now over the summer and out of the fall camp, they're going to try to build some chemistry with this team. And I don't know if anybody stepped up on the offensive line. I'm not sure. I think they will be once camp starts in a couple of days. I think you'll see those guys develop. But I think all of it's going to be like who's going to show up, who's going to do the things that the coaches want to have done, who's going to be the leader, who's going to make sure everybody does the right thing. Not sure who that's going to be. Is it going to be a guy who's been here before, like that's happened on defense at linebacker, and we can talk about that? Is it going to be a Greg Nunnery? Is it going to be, somebody like a Luke Rogers, maybe? Somebody that's been here before. You just don't know. So I guess that's up for grabs, but that'll be it's such, there's so many unknowns to this football team, but there's so many knowns too, which is kind of fascinating.
Well, Heath, if you were to pick an offensive player to have a breakout type season in 2025, who you got?
Jeffrey Pittman. Jeffrey Pittman's my guy to have a breakout season. I just think that he's hungry. He's back close to home. And that first game against Mississippi State, I think he's a guy that when we look at the end of the season, we're going to be like, man, he's getting close to 1,000 yards. With all those running backs in there, he's just physical. He can do multiple things out of the backfield. He can catch the ball, blazing speed. And I think he's a guy that once the end of the season starts, you're going to look and go, ooh, who's this cat? Where did he come from? And I think he's the guy.
Heath, let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And just like the offensive side, there's a new coach on the defensive side too. Jason Seymour follows Coach Huff over from Marshall, where he served as a defensive coordinator in 2023 and 2024. Prior to that, he was a Georgia Tech linebackers coach in 2022. In 2021, he was a defensive coordinator over at Valdosta State. And from 2019 through 2020, he served as a defensive analyst at Georgia Tech. Heath, can you describe the defensive scheme that Coach Seymour plans to run there at Southern Miss?
Yeah, I mean, he is a 4-2-5 guy, kind of a bear front, what they call an old school bear front type of guy. Likes to have 2 linebackers that can really run, and I think you're going to see that. Have those, those defensive linemen hold up blocks, allow those linebackers to make plays. Has a nickel that, it's kind of that hybrid linebacker defensive back that can do all things. A lot of what Southern Miss has had. That's kind of the defense Southern Miss has had for quite a while. Will Hall tried to change it to a 4-3 and then tried to go back to a 4-2-5 last year. And, once you get a certain type of player in, it's kind of hard to change that personnel to a 4-2-5. But then they went in the portal this year and they got a bunch of 4-2-5. They got 4-2-5 linebackers, Also, Chris Jones was there, and we can talk about that. But yeah, it's the same thing. Southern Miss has seen this scheme a lot, and with maybe a few more wrinkles, as in secondary coverages, zone coverage. But I think the same thing we've seen for quite some time.
Well, let's dig into the defensive position rooms and start with the guys up front along that defensive line. The trend of lost production continues on the defensive side of the ball. However, Golden Eagle fans will see Brodarius Lewis return on the interior and Jameer Lewis return off the edge. Heath, there were at least 11 transfers that I counted coming in for the defensive line this season. What are the expectations for this group in 2025?
Remember, Darius Lewis is preseason all conference, so expecting big things from him in the middle. Just a run stopper, nasty run stopper that can double team and split the double team. And I look forward to seeing him play. I think a lot of these other guys are gonna. Isaiah Gibson Jr. is another one they believe that really does have pro potential to him. They bought Mason Clinton from Mississippi State, another big guy that can plug the middle. I think Jaden McKinney is a guy that from UTEP that transferred in. I think he's a guy to circle to watch out for. Of course, I believe he's JJ. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm gonna make sure I get his name right for you. JJ Hawkins. He came over with Huff and them from Marshall. He also, for people that don't know, he was at Colorado with Coach Sanders and then transferred to Marshall. So this is a guy who has a lot of talent, another guy that's an edge guy that they're looking forward to seeing get to the quarterback. So I think they've done a really good job on the defensive line. I think it's probably maybe their strongest position, believe it or not, going into fall camp. I think they've really done a good job of bringing in pieces there, and along with keeping Brodarius Lewis.
So I guess with losing several guys to the portal and graduation, do you think this team leans on Lewis and Gibson there to create pressure, or how does Southern Miss look to create pressure here in 2025?
I think they're going to try to get pressure with their front four, maybe bring a linebacker or two every now and then, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of blitzing. I may be wrong on that. They may totally come out against Mississippi State and blitz from the first snap and blitz all night and look like they're playing, Madden out there or something. But I think a lot of it's going to be kind of base and keep things in front of you and let these physical linebackers make plays, because I do think they've been gifted with some fantastic linebackers that are going to be able to make a lot of plays on this team. And by the end of the season, a couple of guys that might be all conference. So, I think he's got some talent there that he's able to do that to where you're not going to have to blitz as much because you're going to be able to get pressure with your front four. And not have to bring you're not going to have to bring that hybrid defensive back linebacker on a stun or anything, and you're able to use him in coverage, which allows you to do more and disguise things. So I think they've got the talent there not to have to come out of their base and bring too many blitz to bring pressure. And that's not saying they won't blitz. They will, but I don't think they're going to have to blitz as much as people think.
Well, let's get over to this linebacker group. And as you've mentioned several times, it's highlighted by the return of standout freshman Chris Jones, who recorded 45 tackles and had 1 sack in 2024. This was one room where the staff did not bring in a lot of transfers. And so we got to assume that it means that they were really happy with Chris Jones and company returning back in this room. What are the expectations for this linebacker group here as we head into fall camp?
I think the sky's the limit with this group. Chris Jones is he's just an incredible player and an incredible Golden Eagle. This is a guy who could have went anywhere last year, who, schools came calling, and I'm pretty sure the money came behind it, but he wanted to stay at Southern Miss because he loved the place. He's from Jackson. He said, I want to be here. I love Southern Miss, and which for the Southern Miss fans just means everything to them because of what they put into the program. Even though they're losing, they still show up. So They were excited to hear that. And I think the guy that you need to watch out for is Mike Montgomery from Portland State. This is a guy who coming out of high school is being recruited by Oregon and all these Power 5 guys. We're talking a legit he was a legit, almost blue chip type of guy. And Coach Seymour had kept up with him and recruited him when he was at Georgia Tech. And, he got hurt his senior year, I believe, of high school. And that's how he ended up, ended up at Portland State. And they saw him play last year and they're like, we got to get this guy back. He's a stud. And I believe it. I think you're going to see, barring injury, I think you're going to see huge things from him. Avery Sledge is another one that they're looking for big things from. Look, I just think the linebacker core is deep. I think it's athletic. And I think that they're going to be able to I think they're going to bring back the old days of the nasty bunch where those linebackers that Southern Miss had with a Michael Boley, a TJ Slaughter. I mean, I could go on and on of great linebackers that Southern Miss had back in the day. I think you're going to see that with these two guys.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, Chris Jones had an outstanding true freshman season. What are the expectations for him heading into 2025?
I think he's just scratched the surface. You got to remember, I think he missed the last 3 games last season with injury. So 45 tackles and didn't even get to play in the last 3 games as a freshman. That's pretty good stuff. He would have. I'd like to see what he had done. Getting more experience going later into the season. I'd love to see his numbers if not injured. I expect bigger things from him. I expect him to become the missile that he is. This is a guy that you watch him lift weights, and just that he's put on nothing but muscle this offseason. Coach Huff talked about his work ethic and about how he's in there with the former players and the new players as a sophomore, a leader on the defense. Think about that. They went to Sunbelt Media Days, and they took Braylon Braxton and Chris Jones. That'll explain to you how much Chris Jones means to this team. If Charles Huff is going to take him to the Sunbelt Media Days as a sophomore. So I think it's not only just his ability to play, but it's his leadership. It's the type of person that he is, and the type of young man that wants to be at Southern Miss. And I think you're going to see that. And that's what's exciting about him. And I think that's what's going to ingratiate him more to Golden Eagle Nation than he already is.
Heath, the secondary, like many other rooms, saw a lot of production leave via the portal or graduation. We kind of sound like a broken record at this point, but as you can imagine, the staff hit the portal and brought in some guys. In terms of returners, this room will be highlighted by the return of cornerback Brendan Tolles, who saw action in all 12 games last year. What should we expect from this defensive backfield in 2025?
I think they've also bought in Josh Moten from Marshall, who, if many don't know, was probably the highest rated cornerback in the transfer portal. He came with Coach Huff at Southern Miss. This guy could have went. Mississippi State went after him hard, and a lot of other schools went after him, but he stayed and he came back to Southern Miss. So I think that's a guy that's, you kind of call that Moten Island, so to speak. You can put him out there by himself, and you watch him. He played against Ohio State last year, and he was running. He was in wide receiver's hip pocket, makes an interception, just shows the type of ability he has. So I think he's going to be an island unto himself. I think there's a lot of guys that are going to be vying for position. I think Ian Foster, Amir Foster, both of those guys are going to be looking to add some playing time. Man, I don't think – other than Tolles, maybe, I don't know. Tolles, maybe Moten. I think this is wide open, and I really think Tolles is probably the only guy that's set. But I can tell you this, there's enough talent back there that they believe they have enough that they're going to be really good in the defensive backfield with what they bought in. So I don't really have any worries about who's named right now. I think they're going to be fine once they figure out the guys that they can piece together. I think it's more along the guy who's going to work well together in that secondary. And is it going to be guys at Marshall that have already played together? Because just like wide receiver, that's a position that you kind of have to play together, that you've had to be on the field together a lot at the same time. So we'll see what happens. Maybe those Marshall guys take over back there. We'll see. Maybe there's some guys that step up and learn the system really quick because you got, once again, unknowns everywhere, talent everywhere, but unknowns too.
Well, Heath, if you have to pick a defensive player to have a breakout type season in 2025, who would that be? And it can, when we say breakout, like it can be someone that Southern Miss fans know, but it could be a breakout like on a national level.
I think Chris Jones is going to have a fantastic year, and I think he's going to be all conference type of player. But I personally think Michael Montgomery is going to be the guy that's going to be the breakout player. I think people are going to see his talent at middle linebacker. And I think he's going to be the guy that kind of takes Southern Miss. I think the linebackers are going to lead this team on the defensive side of the ball anyway. And I think you're going to see him step forward with Chris Jones to be that next big, just unbelievable linebacker tandem in Southern Miss history and put their names up on the Eagle Walk with the greats. I think those two have a legitimate shot to be right there with some of the greatest. Marchant Kenny, as I said, TJ Slaughter, Michael Boley. I mean, you literally, Rod Davis, you could go down the list of these linebackers who have been incredible. And I think those two guys have every bit of ability to add themselves to that list.
Well, Heath, we've talked offense, we've talked defense. Now let's move over to the special teams. Are there any concerns heading into the season?
Quite a few. I mean, I think, you don't know what you got coming in because you hadn't seen them yet. And, they talked about it in the presser today. Got some kickers coming in. We hope they can kick. So, yeah, they got some Aussies coming in. I mean, it's just, you go back and listen to it. It's quite funny. But, yeah, I think they know that this facetious, but they know they've got some guys that kick. Who's going to be the guys that step up there and, is it going to be a Jack Murley that's going to step up? Logan Gregory, who's going to be the guy that step up and be the kicker and the punter? We'll see. They've got some guys coming in, so that's a wide open position, boys. Let's see what happens. Strap the pads on, and the best man will win. Of course, Caden Morgan, Reed Harridan. So. Creighton Wilbanks, another guy. This is Mandeville High School from Louisiana. Just like everything else, it's a you've had your tryouts. Now let's see how you play. And I really don't know what to tell you about the kickers because nobody knows. It's a wide open race, and we'll see what happens.
Well, now that spring practice is over and we're getting ready to head into fall camp, which position group or groups do you think is the most concerning heading into 2025?
My offensive line. I think it's the offensive line. It has to be. As bad as the offensive line has been in the past, I know they bought in some talent. I know they bought in some guys to replace some deficiencies there, but it's still the offensive line. Until, Southern Miss fans see that they can block and they can do it really well and they can open up holes in the running lane, it's always going to be the offensive line because of injuries to quarterbacks, the revolving door 4 or 5 years ago at quarterbacks, and the revolving door since then, guys quitting in the middle of the season. It's just been guys getting hurt. It's always going to be the offensive line until they show they can play. So, of course, it's offensive line.
Well, Heath, in today's age of NIL, revenue sharing, the transfer portal, we've seen Southern Miss dip into that transfer portal, whether they're guys coming or going. But what has Coach Huff talked about there at Southern Miss is kind of his recruiting philosophy?
We talked about it today. He said when it comes to guys who are seniors, he likes to replace them with freshmen coming in and guys that leave the transfer portal from their, sophomore, junior, like try to replace them with sophomores and juniors from the portal. But, they've done such a good job with bringing in money, bringing in funds for NIL, using the collective now as a fundraising arm of the NIL. And since they are doing the revenue share where the school now is dishing everything out, I think the collective is still raising money. I think they've done a fantastic job. I think they've believe it or not, I think Southern Miss probably has one of the top 2 NILs in the Sun Belt right now. They have really spent some money, and they've done it in other sports too. Baseball, basketball. Now, baseball has really spent a lot of money. Football has spent a lot of money. They even spent some money in tennis, believe it or not. They bought. I'm not joking. You see it on Twitter. They have really done a good job of fundraising. So I think, and look, a lot of credit that goes to Will Hall, who really pushed that his last year here. So he was on he kind of pushed that too. But when Coach Huff came in, he was able to really put the gas pedal to that, and the fans have really responded in a positive way, and in a way where they've been able to go out and put some cash out there and get a lot of good players, and they're really in good shape in the future too with the way things are set up. I think Southern Miss is fine for the future with NIL.
Given all the changes with both the coaching staff and the players for 2025, Heath, what is the vibe around town and the fan base? What are they talking about?
Excitement. These people want to win, man. You got to understand, Southern Miss from the middle 90s to, the middle 2015s was a winner. Went to bowl games it was a school that you looked up, they're going to another bowl game. They won, they won 7-8 games again. And here lately, it has just been tough. It's been tough to go to football games. A lot of people started wearing bags on their head last year. These people are hungry for a winner, and they're hungry to watch Southern Miss get back to the top of the conference where they used to be all the time. And excitement is what I would say. Excitement and anticipation, especially when you got Mississippi State coming in for the first game, Jackson State coming in for the second. It's it's the excitement there. It's palpable, and people are spending the money buying the season tickets, and they're putting their money where their mouth is. The fans are now. Now it's time for the football team to do the same. So just a lot of excitement around Hattiesburg with Coach Huff and what they've been able to do.
Well, you talk about the excitement and these teams that are coming. Given the changes, what does success look like for the Golden Eagles in 2025?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. 6, 7, 8 wins. I really don't. You look at the schedule. You look at the teams that, they've got 7 home games this year. Louisiana Tech on the road, but Jacksonville State at home. I think there are some opportunities there to get some out-of-conference wins. Could they beat a Mississippi State? Who knows? You never know what's going to happen early in the season, and it is at the Rock. So the home field advantage does help. I think success for Southern Miss is going to be 6, 7, 8 wins in a bowl game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they finish in the top 3 of the Sun Belt, the West. I think they're that talented, and if you can get up that high, who knows what can happen. A few things go your way, you get a road win you're not supposed to, and things start happening that you didn't think might happen, and you end up, kind of getting close to that West championship and playing for a championship. You just never know. I think the talent's there. Will it come together in time? We'll see. But 6, 7, 8 wins in a bowl game is not out of the question.
Well, in order to get to that 6, 7, 8 wins, that bowl game, is there a part of the schedule that you think about as just kind of crucial in achieving that success?
Yeah, I think Mississippi State game is I'm going to put it to itself because it's interstate rival and you never know what may happen. So, but I do think the Jackson State, App State, Louisiana Tech, Jacksonville State, I think that 4-game swing right there is important. I think if you want to have 6 wins, out of the first 5 games, you need to go 3-2. But I think 4-1 right there would be huge. And I think they do have the ability to go 4-1 and maybe 5-0 in those first 5 games. If they could go 4-1 in those first 5 games, 6, 7, 8 wins is very attainable.
Heath, given all the change, what do you think is the main strength of this 2025 team?
Ooh, when you have, I personally think when you have the preseason Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year, you have to say quarterback. I don't think there's any other way you can say the strength of this team is at quarterback. And this team is going to go as far as Braylon Bryson can take them. And we'll see how he plays that first game. But I think that we've seen him in the past at Marshall and what he did in the Sun Belt Championship game. And I think Southern Miss is going to live and breathe with Braylon Bryson. And if he can play like he did last year, I'll keep saying it. There's going to be a lot of success for Southern Miss in 2025.
Well, Heath, we've talked NIL, we've talked offense, defense, coaching changes, special teams. Is there anything else that you want to share or think that we should know about this 2025 Southern Miss Golden Eagles football team?
I think this is a fascinating football team, as in I think a lot of people in the country are going to be watching to see what happens. I think this experiment, they saw a little bit with Signetti last year in Indiana. He didn't bring in as many guys as Huff has. So I think this is an experiment that a lot of people are going to keep their eyes on. A lot of schools are going to be watching this, and I think if there's a lot of success, you're going to see changes in the way coaches are hired. I think you're going to see changes in the way coaches, how much time they have to turn a program around. I think gone are the days where a coach gets 3 years to build a program. With the portal, NIL, I think they've got a couple of years. If he can't get it done, they're probably you're going to get your papers. I just really believe that with the success here, which I think they will have success, it's going to change the way hiring takes place, firing takes place. How do you hire your coach? What are your prereqs for a coach? Are you going to go after a player's coach? Are you going to go after a disciplinarian? What type of coach are you going to hire? Is it going to need to be a player's coach because you're going to have to attract players and bring them in? Is the head coach going to become more of a player's friend and not the disciplinarian, but the assistant coaches are going to become the disciplinarians? The possibilities are endless. So I say this Southern Miss team, there's a lot of people going to be watching it, and a lot of future decisions in college football could be made because of it.
Well, Heath, we want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to spend with us and share your knowledge. We greatly appreciate it. But before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to share with the listeners where they can find your work and maybe some of the things you have coming up over at Big Gold Nation.
Yeah, you can always go to on three Southern Miss. It's Big Gold Nation. Just Google Big Gold Nation, and check us out there. We got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. We keep up with all sports: baseball, basketball, and football. It's been an exciting transition for us going from rivals to on three. So we've been really excited about that. And check us out there. Check us out on Twitter. And, just become a member, have fun. If you're a Southern Miss fan, you'll get all the inside information. You may even find out, what building's getting renovated. We even put that out every now and then. You never know. You know how fans are. They love that type of stuff. So come join, become a member, and we'd love to have a good time. And, man, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a blessing, and look forward to doing it again if you ever need me.
Well, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, please rate and review on Amazon Music, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Thank you all for your support. Until the next time, we are the G55.